Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. All right, today with Because of Winn-Dixie, we are going to start with chapter 14. All right, and today we are going to see that Opal learns a valuable lesson, and we're going to end up doing a writing assignment that correlates or ties into what that lesson is. So go ahead and get out your books and turn to page 92, and we'll go ahead and get started with chapter 14. All right. So here we go. Page 92. Sometimes I told Gloria the story Miss Franny Block had just told me. Or I imitated Otis tapping his pointy-toed boots and playing for all the animals. And that always made her laugh. And sometimes I made up a story and Gloria Dump would listen to it all the way through from beginning to end. She told me she used to love to read stories, but she couldn't anymore because her eyes were so bad. "Can't you get some really strong glasses?" I asked her. "Child," she said, "they don't make glasses strong enough for these eyes." One day, when the storytelling was done, I decided to tell Gloria that Otis was a criminal. I thought maybe I should tell an adult about it, and Gloria was the best adult I knew. Alright, so we're going to pause there because some of the information that we've learned in this chapter ties into what we read yesterday. So in the beginning of the chapter, it talks about how she would share stories that she heard from Franny or anything that might have happened at the pet store. Because remember, yesterday we talked about Opal and Winn-Dixie's daily routine and how they always started at the pet store. So she saw Otis, saw him play his guitar, sing to the animals. But then we also know that after Otis's, she would go to Franny's library and have Franny tell her stories. So she would use all of the stuff that she had learned from prior to that day, anything that happened with her daily routine, and she would share that with Gloria. So sometimes she would get her stories from Franny, or she would also just share stories about what happened with her day, so with Otis. And so now she's going to share the story as to Otis being a criminal, which we also learned earlier this week. Alright, we're going to keep on reading. "Gloria," I said. "Mm-hmm," she said back. "Do you know Otis?" "I don't know him, but I know what you tell me about him." "Well, he's a criminal. He's been in jail. Do you think I should be afraid of him?" "What for?" "I don't know. For doing bad things, I guess. For being in jail." "Child," said Gloria, "let me show you something." She got up out of her chair real slow and took hold of my arm. "Let's the two of us walk all the way to the back of this yard." "Okay," I said. We walked, and Winn-Dixie followed right behind us. It was a huge yard, and I had never been all the way back in it. When we got to a big old tree, we stopped. "Look at this tree," Gloria said. I looked up. There were bottles hanging from just about every branch. There were whiskey bottles and beer bottles and wine bottles all tied on with string, and some of them were clanking against each other and making a spooky kind of noise. Me and Winn-Dixie stood and stared at the tree, and the hair on top of his head rose up a little bit, and he growled deep in his throat. Gloria Dump pointed her cane at the tree. "What you think about this tree?" I said, "I don't know. Why are all these bottles on it?" "To keep the ghosts away," Gloria said. "What ghosts?" "The ghosts of all the things I done wrong." I looked at all the bottles on the tree. "You did that many things wrong?" I asked her. "Mm-hmm," said Gloria. "More than that." "But you're the nicest person I know," I told her. "Doesn't mean I haven't done bad things," she said. "There's whiskey bottles on there," I told her, "and beer bottles." "Child," said Gloria Dump, "I know that. I'm the one who put 'em there. I'm the one who drank what was in 'em." "My mama drank," I whispered. "I know it," Gloria Dump said. The preacher says that sometimes she couldn't stop drinking. Said Gloria again. That's the way it is for some folks. We get started and we can't get stopped. Are you one of those people? Yes, ma'am, I am. But these days, I don't drink nothing stronger than coffee. Did the whiskey and beer and wine, did they make you do the bad things that are ghosts now? Some of them, said Gloria Dump. Some of them I would have done anyway, with alcohol or without it, before I learned. Learned what? Learned what is the most important thing. What's that? I asked her. It's different for everyone, she said. You find out on your own. But in the meantime, you got to remember, you can't always judge people by the things they done. You gotta judge them by what they are doing now. You judge Otis by the pretty music he plays and how kind he is to them animals, because that's all you know about him right now, all right? Yes, ma'am, I said. And them Dewberry boys, you try not to judge them too harsh either, all right? All right, I said. All right then, said Gloria Dump, and she turned and started walking away. Winn-Dixie nudged me with his wet nose and wagged his tail. When he saw I wasn't going, he trotted after Gloria. I stayed where I was and studied the tree. I wondered if my mama, wherever she was, had a tree full of bottles, and I wonder if I was a ghost to her, the same way she sometimes seemed like a ghost to me. Alright, that is chapter 14. Opal learns a very valuable lesson in this story. When you think back to the beginning of this chapter, remember she was getting ready to tell Gloria that Otis was a criminal. He had been in jail. He spent time because he did something that was against the law. But think back to what Gloria told Opal about Otis and how she should treat people. Anyways, she said that we shouldn't judge, Opal should not judge people by their mistakes. She should judge them as to how they are now. So what Otis did was way in the past. It was probably years and years ago. And he told Opal that. And even though Opal had just heard about it, the mistake wasn't something that had happened just then. It was something that was a long time ago. Otis had paid for it. He had moved on. He had learned from his mistake. All right. But Opal wasn't so sure if that she should trust him because of that past mistake. But remember, Gloria said that you can't judge people by the things they've done. You have to judge them by what they are doing now. All right. So Opal learns to judge people based on how they are today and not mistakes that they had made in the past. Keep that in your mind because we're going to come back to that lesson as it's going to pertain or go with what our writing assignment is for today. But what I want us to do is take a little detour and work on vocabulary real quick. We just have one word today and we're going to do it together. And the word is shame. So in your vocabulary, it's number 25, so it's the second to last word at the bottom. Alright, and we're going to go over this word together. So when you think of the word shame, think about what we have read so far in our chapter, or what this chapter was about since we just read it. Otis had made mistakes, and Gloria had made mistakes. Sometimes people will feel shame because of the mistakes that they had made. Alright, so think about if you've ever made a mistake, which I'm sure you have. I've made a mistake, so I will be the first one to admit. Everyone on this planet has made a mistake. None of us are perfect. But think about if you've ever made a mistake, sometimes you might feel ashamed or you might feel shame because of what you did. And it's not a very pleasant feeling. And it's not a feeling people want to have. Alright, so shame is a painful feeling of humiliation from a wrong behavior. Alright, so I will give you an example of one time Miss Kilgore felt shame, alright? One time, I was playing with my brother. We were playing a game, and I was upset because I was losing, so I ended up cheating in the game. And my brother got really upset because he knew that I cheated, and he knew that he should have won, but I did because I cheated. And I ended up feeling bad because I hurt my brother, and I was shameful, alright? I was ashamed, or I felt shame because of the wrong behavior that I did, so I felt humiliation. I didn't feel good about myself because of the wrong behavior, because I cheated in my game. Alright, so that's an example of shame. Go ahead, I will hold this back up here for a little longer if you want to pause the video so you can write this definition with your word. This is our only vocabulary word for the day, so once you do that, you're good to go with vocabulary. What we're going to do now is to go over our writing assignment, and it has a lot to do with making mistakes and learning from our mistakes, because that is what Otis and Gloria had said. Remember, Gloria was putting bottles on those trees because they reminded her of mistakes that she had made and the lessons she had learned in order that she won't do those mistakes again. Alright, so I'm going to read you just a little paragraph that kind of explains what our writing assignment is going to be about this week. Alright, so in chapter 14, which we just read, Gloria Dump shows Opal her mistake tree. So each bottle represents a mistake Gloria had made and reminds her to make better choices. What you're going to do is write 2 sentences about a mistake you made and 2 sentences about a lesson that you learned from it. You're going to give examples of how you learned from the mistake. Alright? So this is just a 1-paragraph writing assignment. And it kind of can be set up like this. This is kind of my rough draft, which is what you're going to be doing today. Remember, we always want a topic sentence and a closing sentence with our paragraphs, and then we want our details and our meat in the middle. So think of that hamburger. You have your top bun, which is your topic sentence, your bottom bun, which is your closing, and all that juicy stuff in the middle that you really want to eat, like the meat, the lettuce, the tomatoes, the ketchup, everything. That is your details, all right? So that's where your 4 sentences are going to be. I will make sure that all these directions are written above, and I might even put them in a separate comment. That way you can come back and look at the directions, alright? So it won't just be in this video. But one example that you can say for a topic sentence, since we're talking about learning from mistakes, you can say, everyone makes mistakes and learns from them, alright? So there's my topic sentence, everyone makes mistakes and learns from them. Here's an example of a topic sentence. If you want to use this one, go ahead. But everyone makes mistakes and learns from them. So this tells the reader, whoever's reading my paper, okay, we're going to hear about a time that Miss Kilgore made a mistake and how she learned from it. Alright? So I will give you an example. I'll give you another example of when Miss Kilgore made a mistake, and my brother is also involved in this. Once you have your topic sentence, you're going to write 2 sentences about a mistake you made. Alright? So one mistake, this is my first sentence starting with my details, so in the middle of my hamburger. One mistake I made was not being there for my brother, so I wasn't there to support him. I told him I would support him at his basketball game, but I decided to hang out with my friends instead. Alright, so my brother, this is the mistake I made. My brother was counting on me, he was excited, it was his last basketball game of the season. Those are details I can add into my sentences. I can say, one time my brother was counting on me to support him during his last basketball game of his season, and instead I hung out with my friends. So I blew him off. I said, I'm going to go hang out with my friends because that seems more fun for me. Well, that was a mistake I made. And then here is the lesson that I learned. Alright, so those are like my 2 to 3. You can do 2 to 3 sentences for what your mistake was. And then this is what I learned from my mistake. So from my mistake, I learned that it is important to keep commitments that you make. I learned that my brother counted on me to be there to support him because let me start over. I learned that my brother counted on me to support him, and I needed to keep up with that commitment. Alright? In the end, my brother ended up being hurt because I wasn't there for him, and I knew I would feel the same if I was in that similar position. Alright? So that talks about what I learned. I learned it's important to keep commitments because people are counting on you. Alright? And you want to be someone that's trustworthy and accountable, someone that people can depend upon. Alright? And I also knew that if I was in the same position, if my brother told me that he was going to be there to support me, if he wasn't, I would feel just as upset as he was. Alright, so that's kind of where the shame comes in. I felt shamed and humiliated by my wrong behavior because my brother was upset with me. Alright, so once you explain what you have learned, you're then going to do your closing sentence. So I will show you the closing sentence right here. Alright, it says, as you can see, it is important to learn from your mistakes. Alright, so we're all going to make mistakes. We all know that's going to happen. Alright, it's just something that happens when you're human. You make mistakes. But what's important is how you learn from your mistakes. Alright, and then you know not to make those mistakes again. Alright, So what you're going to do is think of a time. It might be a little hard because we don't like to think of times that we messed up. All right, but think really hard of a mistake you made. Maybe one time you lied to your mom or dad. Maybe you were mean to a friend. Maybe you cheated on a homework assignment and you got caught. Maybe you stole something from someone. All right, maybe you got in a fight with a friend or a brother or sister, right, and took something that wasn't yours and then got upset. Maybe you were supposed to go to a game for someone and you didn't and they got upset, just like what happened with my brother. All right, there's a lot of different examples that you could use. Just choose one. All right, all you have to do is just write 2 sentences about the mistake you made, 2 sentences about what you learned from it, and then make sure you have a topic and a closing sentence. All right, so what I would advise you to do is, if you want, you can pause this video right here, and then you'll have this topic sentence and this closing sentence that you can use. I'll also make sure they're in the comments above in case you can't see them in this video. All right, but today is just the rough draft. All right, so it can even look like this. If you want to write topic sentence, 2 sentences about mistake, 2 sentences about the lesson learned, and closing sentences, that way you know you have all of those details. I would do that. And then tomorrow we're going to work on the final copy, and that will be due over the weekend. All right, so today is just the rough draft. I said final copy. The rough draft is just today. All right, and it's just a total of 6 sentences, because you'll have 1 sentence for your topic, 2 for the mistake you made, 2 for the lessons learned, and 1 for your closing sentence. All right, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to message me or put them in the comments below, and Mrs. Programmer and I will try to get back to you as soon as you can, as we can. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and I will see you tomorrow.